Okay, welcome back everyone to another sports wrap-up. I'm Ryan Nelson, joined by Stephen Claybaker across the table with me.
How are we doing?
We're surviving. We just come back from Pep Assembly. It was pretty cool, I think.
It was all right. Not gonna lie, last year's was better. Not trying to hate or anything,
well,
but
you have, Noel McCormick doing some stuff during the pep rally. It's kind of hard to mash that, honestly. It really is.
I don't know when you get Swanson ripping his shirt off, like that's pretty funny.
Okay. I completely lost my train of thought now. Well, I don't know. Okay. Today we're going to talk a little football. Steven's our in-house football expert. I'll call him, I guess, if you want to say that. A lot of things happen in football, honestly.
Just a little, the combine, free agency, that stuff. Not important.
You know what? Before we get too far into stuff, we had our brackets, our teams. We made before. Was it before break even?
Yeah, that was right before.
Yeah,
finals.
we've went down in efficiency when it comes to these shows, but
Senioritis kicked in.
hey, not yet. You're still a junior. When it comes to the teams, I believe that Dalkin is the one who eventually won.
Yeah, Dalkin won because I remembered we were really pissed off about it.
Yeah, we were a
like,
little.
how did someone who really
angry.
just got all his picks off the internet win?
Well, you know what? Those are the teams on the screen, so you can check them out, pause it, go ahead, do whatever you want. But again, Dalkin's team won, so that's something else I gotta say. But hey,
yeah, what can you
what
do?
can you do?
What can you do?
Nothing. You can do nothing. Do you want to put that on there?
I feel like the audio is a little low. You know what? We're gonna.
I have boosted the audio a lot already. I know. You know what? This is gonna be just a relaxing Friday after school kind of broadcast here.
Friday before spring break.
You know what? This is. We're on God's time right now. Just wide open, whatever we want to do right now. It's up to us. You know what? I do want to pull something. You know what? I know this is great, just absolutely great to listen to because you have no idea what's going on. But I'm gonna pull up a tweet I found the other day by Jim Nagy. And if you guys don't know who Jim Nagy is, no, he's not Matt Nagy's brother, but he is. Come on, I gotta find the tweet. He tweeted he's the founder of the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl. If you guys don't know what it is, it's a great situation for many seniors who may not get invited to combines or might not be at the top tier of many of people's draft boards, but they get a chance to show their skills and everything like that. So this is a pretty respected guy. He's a you know what? I'm gonna read his Twitter bio really quick. He's an executive director of the Reese Senior Bowl, ESPN draft analyst, 18-year scout, 6-time Super Bowl participant, 4-time champion, and he's a University of Michigan alum. So I know Steven's gonna like him a lot, just because of that. I can't find the exact tweet, and I wish I planned for this a little better. I got to be honest, but it was something along the lines of, did John Dorsey get handed a dynasty in Kansas City?
John Dorsey, you mean Cleveland?
No, not in Cleveland. In Kansas City, did he really do anything in Kansas City that made him? You know, here it is. John Dorsey is getting tons of love today, and rightfully so, but he stepped into two of the best GM situations. He inherited incredible draft capital and cap space in both Kansas City and Cleveland. Most fans would admit it, but Sashi Brown and Scott Pioli set Dorsey up for success. So yes, he's talking about Cleveland, also a bit Kansas City, but does John Dorsey deserve all the credit in the world for what he's done with Cleveland and what he did in Kansas City before he moved to Cleveland?
I would say for most definitely Cleveland, he got handed whether he likes it or not, Sashi Brown is the Sam Hinkie of the NFL. Like, no question. That guy traded everything for draft picks and basically blew up the entire team in order to try to tank as much as possible, and honestly, he succeeded.
It's true.
0-16. And got the first-round pick both years.
That's taking at its finest.
That's taking at its finest. So I'd say most definitely for the Cleveland Browns, he got handed that situation because he got. What would you say?
The way I see it, when did he come into the Browns situation? Was it 2017? He came last year, right?
He came right.
Is it after he drafted Baker or before they drafted?
No,
Baker?
he was the one that drafted Baker.
He drafted Baker, so he basically took over after the 0-16 season. He took. Wait, no, that was. No, he took after the. Okay, so they got Myles Garrett after the 1-15,
Yeah.
and they got Baker after 0-16.
Yes.
Okay, so he came in after 0-16, inherited Myles Garrett, one of the better defensive prospects to ever be seen, coming into a draft. He inherited a decent coaching staff. I know he fired many of the guys, but I think Freddie Kitchens was already there, who's now his current head coach. So that's another guy who was just handed to him. They had some pieces already built on the defense as well. So when I looked at that tweet, I said, you know what? Looking at it, there was a bit of a handing to him, but I still think Dorsey deserves credit for the way he's handled the assets and the way that he has made the best out of the assets. You know, when you trade Jabril Peppers and a couple picks for the best receiver, one of the best receivers in the league this year, or
Probably the best. Nah.
so the way here, ready?
No, we'll talk about this later. Basically, he traded for a pretty good guy.
Yeah, Brady isn't. Brady isn't. Okay, I got distracted a little bit there. Okay, but when Dorsey came to the Browns, they had an owner who was done with touching around with the roster and said, you know what, Dorsey, John, take it over, hire your coach, hire whoever you want. You fired Hugh Jackson because that's not hard to do, honestly. I could have fired Hugh Jackson if I was in Dorsey's shoes. And I see Freddie Kitchens perform so well, I could have done that move in my sleep as well. I don't think that Dorsey deserves as much credit as people may be giving him, but I think he's done a dang good job with the Cleveland Browns and what he did with the Kansas City Chiefs as well.
Yeah, I'd say since the point he's gotten hired, he's done a pretty great job. He's taken what is set up for him, and for now we've seen that he's followed through. Frankly, time will only tell. As for Kansas City, that part of the tweet, I'd say he deserves a lot of the credit, but at the same time, he deserves absolutely all of the credit for why he got fired. Because, frankly, he kind of blew up that team and caused it to be average because of his mismanagement of the cap space and paying players like Derek Johnson, Tamba Hali, and Jamal Charles, all of which didn't last very long under his leadership. And another one, Jeremy Maclin, he gave 4 years, $55 million to him, and he lasted, I think, 2 seasons with the Kansas. So I'd say he's probably better when it comes to drafting than the contracts currently. As for Cleveland, we'll find out in a couple of years, especially when they comes down to paying Baker and Garrett.
You mentioned some teams, some of the guys he signed for agency. I think that's free agents class. He did a pretty good job. Sheldon Richardson from the Vikings. He's a guy who's had characteristics in the past. Pretty decent year with the Vikings last year. Playing in the Browns system, he's not going to be bad at all, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a pretty good signing right there. Ranked 8th best free agent on some of the free agency boards. And you know what the best thing they did? They didn't sign too many other guys.
They didn't?
They played smart free agency. Many teams do not do that. I think the Colts did a fantastic job in free agency by doing absolutely nothing. I love the addition by doing nothing. That's my favorite thing to do because you know what I found the Browns? I made the trade for Beckham. I made the signing for Richardson. I think that I've done a pretty good job. I have Baker. I signed Kareem Hunt, who's suspended for 8 games. Yes, I do not agree with any of his off-field actions, but you know what? He's a dang good football player at the very least. So, in my opinion, I think that he's done a nice job of finding guys who can make the football team better. The biggest thing I find right now, I see Beckham, I see Baker, I see Sheldon, I see Myles Garrett, I see Nick Chubb, I see Kareem Hunt, I see Antonio Callaway, I see all these players. Who's the leader on this team?
Baker.
But do the players know that? Does Odell Beckham come in and say, you know what, Baker Mayfield, I'll listen to you?
Seeing as he went from, to put it lightly, regressing Eli Manning to playing for a guy who honestly lit it up and broke Eli Manning's brother Peyton Manning rookie records in less games, I'd say that's very respectable. And plus, since Jarvis bought in to Baker Mayfield, I feel like Odell Beckham will more than likely buy in as well.
I think it's a big piece to it, too. Odell Beckham's friendship with Jarvis Lynch. They went to the same college. They went to LSU together. They were buds there. And you know what? I think Beckham's going to be I was kind of playing devil's advocate when I said who's the leader because I think that people are going to recognize that Baker's the leader, and I think Freddie Kitchens is going to recognize that Baker's the leader, and I hope that the Browns really put it together because you know what, this city deserves something. Honestly.
Factory of sadness. Mr. Yarkusko was here today.
I
almost
should have brought up something about Cleveland.
Yeah, I should have.
Gosh, what has gone right for Cleveland in the past few years?
They got a franchise quarterback.
Okay,
well, I mean, aside from this year, honestly, nothing.
Just think about it. Besides this year in football, LeBron left. Cleveland Browns have just been garbage. The Indians have choked in the playoffs multiple times. Cleveland's just not looking too hot, honestly, when it comes to
but now
teams.
They have something that they've never experienced, which is called hope.
Hope. Oh my gosh, that's a dangerous thing, though.
But I would
hope
say,
is a dangerous thing.
And you disagree with me, I'd say they have 4-ish years to win a Super Bowl.
Okay, so you said this at lunch one day, and I was like, no. I basically just said no. I know the window now is win a Super Bowl while your quarterback's on a rookie deal. That's what the Eagles did. The Rams made it this past year doing that. The Bears are about to do it too because I'm a Bears fan. Sorry, I'm mocking you. I apologize. That was
okay.
A little too convoluted.
Yeah.
I don't feel that this is a trend that's going to last. I think quarterbacks' contracts are going to come back down to earth. I feel that the Matthew Stafford, it's Friday, okay? I can't talk any day, honestly. Matthew Stafford, he's a guy whose contract's a little bloated. Kirk Cousins' contract's a little bloated.
A little? If you dish it, you got to receive.
Steve.
Continue.
Steve, okay, you know what? Oh, my gosh.
But see, the thing about that is that next year is really going to define quarterback contracts. Because you have Russell Wilson, Phillip Rivers,
You're right.
Thomas Edward Brady, Drew Brees, although he might retire, Big Ben, Dak Prescott, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston. All in 1 year.
You know what? If I'm the Browns, I see what the Patriots have done and said, why can't that be us? Why can't my quarterback be on a low-level contract? Yes, I know a below-market contract.
Yes.
I know Patriots do not spend any money on receivers, and they just have a bunch of Walmart employees.
That's true.
But you know what? Right now, you have Odell. You have Jarvis. You have Callaway. You have Njoku, I forgot about. You have a decent offensive line. You have a growing defense. This is a team who's on the rise already. Why can Baker can just say, you know what? I've been underrated all my life. You know, I've had success. I'll take a pay cut. I won't take $20 million. I won't take $20 million over the salary cap for a couple of years. I'll let my guys get paid their money, and I think that under Freddie Kitchens, I think that these guys are going to learn some humility and learn how to play as a team. And I think that maybe I'm just too optimistic right now for a Browns fan, but I think the Browns are in a great spot for more than just 4 years.
To end this off, I'd also like to mention, in 4 years, Jarvis Landry will be a free agent. In 4 years, Myles Garrett will be a free agent. Actually, no, 3 years. And
I don't think Jarvis Landry is going to come back, first of all. Second of all, I don't think Jarvis Landry is going to be that important. He's going to be a great slot receiver with Baker Mayfield, but look at how Baker used him. I am on a fantasy team. He was putting up decent stats, but not great stats. And when you have Antonio Callaway, it's pretty easy to find some slot receivers in the drafts. I don't think that Jarvis Landry is going to be part of the long-term picture here in Cleveland. I got to be honest.
Well, when I go to college in 4 years and the Browns blow up, I will happily text you, you're wrong.
Please. I would welcome that heavily. You know what? Talking about blow-ups, let's talk about
New York.
No.
Oh.
Let's talk about it. You know what? Fine. You want to go to New York first before we head over?
Oh, you want to talk about blow-ups?
Yeah, let's talk about the Schuster picture down here, not the New York Giants. But you're talking about the Giants first. Odell Beckham. They got him for a first-round pick.
1/3.
1/3 in Jabril Peppers.
Yes.
So basically 2 firsts and a third, basically. Or maybe a very early second. I mean, Jabril was a first-round pick only a couple years ago, so I'll give him 2 firsts and a third for Odell Beckham. That's not enough. Simply is not enough.
We're probably gonna say the same thing for the Antonio Brown trade, which we're gonna go up to in a second. And I have a funny thing to say about that. Honestly, Antonio Brown handled that so well. But anyways, about Odell. When you have a star receiver like Odell, you don't trade him, especially when you're eating a $20 million cap hit to trade him.
I think that's the big kicker. That $20 million they have to keep on their their checks book, because you're paying a guy not to play for you. That's like the worst situation. That's a Bobby Bonilla kind of thing.
That is a Bobby Bonilla.
$1 million every June 1st, whatever it is, July 1st. Sorry. I see this as everyone says it. It's the end of an era in New York. I think that the Jets are on the rise, the Giants are on downfall. If the Giants do not draft a quarterback with either the 6th or 17th pick, they're making a huge mistake. If they do not use Jabril Peppers to the best of his abilities, they're making a mistake. If they waste Saquon Barkley, they're making a giant mistake.
Yeah, frankly, this is starting to look like a couple years ago with not AP, but with LaDainian Tomlinson.
Okay.
I feel, honest to God, I feel like Dave Gettleman, that's who's the GM, right? I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where they're eventually going to get their quarterback to replace Eli. They're going to get weapons, and then they're going to massively underperform in the playoffs and just waste it all.
Are the Giants the Jaguars? A great running back, Fournette, Barkley, both top 5 draft picks, quarterback who just cannot throw the ball to save his life. I know Jaguars' defense is much, much better than Giants' defense, but if the Giants build their defense up, especially that 6th pick, if offensive guys go before then, they may have a Josh Allen, a Nick Bosa, or Quinnen Williams fall into their lap. If they rebuild it,
I was just going to say I don't think Leonard Fournette is very good, but I mean, yes, they're running back-centric teams right now, and one of my favorite tweets I saw was a gif of a man crawling, and the caption on the top was Saquon Barkley after 174 carries for 80 yards. And honestly, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Like, they have to take a quarterback at 6 or 17.
Okay.
Or they should just trade everyone, blow it up, and tank for Tua, fail for Fromm, or be horrible for Herbert next year.
Is the league moving to? So the league is moving to a quarterback-centric league. There's zero doubt in anyone's mind about that. Is this a permanent thing, or is this another fade?
This is a permanent thing.
It's not a fade, a fad. Is this another fad? It's gonna come in, it's gonna come out. It's gonna come in, or is this this is the NFL we know and we're gonna love for the next 50, 100 years?
Well, when you look at history, there's no reinventing the wheel when it comes to football. Like, the spread offense that everyone talks about has been around since the Great Depression. Like, everything's the same for the rules for the most part. It's just really dependent. Every scheme that teams run has weaknesses and advantages.
Yeah.
Having an advantage of power football like the Jaguars did is they can protect Blake Bortles from throwing the ball ever. But the biggest problem with that is you're relying too much on one guy. See, what quarterbacks do is they just distribute the football to different players. So it's not all on one guy, really, to move the offense. Like, Jared Goff threw off play action, I want to say, like 40% of the time. So when your guy is open 40% of the time and you're just playing catch and pitch with a guy that runs a 4.3 and comes from SoCal, like, that's exactly what you want. Okay. See, the league is starting to embrace the whole spread out, distribute the football, get your guys into space, and just let them win games. And I feel like this is going to stay. I feel like I will say this. I feel like the quarter contracts will come down at some point, just not recently. And honestly, running backs are now the least value they will ever be.
Apples. I know this is comparing apples to oranges. Which contract is more impactful? Nick Foles to the Jaguars or Le'Veon Bell to the Jets? Let me know that you just spent the fast 30 seconds to a minute describing how invaluable running backs are.
I would. Well, see, I also look at Jacksonville and I see what they have on offense, and I'm just not seeing much. Yet at the same time, like New York has the quarterback to distribute.
And Nick Foles is going to distribute to Leonard Fournette, and I think Marquise Lee is still there.
I would say for now, Nick Foles is more important than Le'Veon Bell. Also because I think Le'Veon Bell is a little overrated.
Okay, so who's not overrated?
Who's not overrated? Okay.
Of course.
Tree Coney is most definitely not overrated. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's underutilized. Just look at their playoff game. He touched the ball a total of 4 times. Like, I think of the air raid philosophy that you see in college, which is just get the ball to good people, and then you're going to be fine.
So you're in the Cliff Kingsbury kind of mindset.
Yes.
You know what?
Well,
Just throw the ball.
Just throw
the ball with Kyler Murray being your quarterback.
Yeah, we're going to talk. That's actually will be a teaser at the end of this podcast. We'll get there.
Yes.
But for right now, I'd say Nick Foles is more important because he's the quarterback.
Okay, so in my opinion, the Jaguars are in a fine and dandy spot. They have a quarterback for the next 4 years, making a decent amount of money. Okay. I believe they have a franchise running back in Leonard Fournette. That's my opinion. I think he's very, very good when behind a decent offensive line.
Yeah.
They have the 7th overall pick, which they can use to either draft DK Metcalf, or they can use to draft an offensive lineman and really help out their protection. Their defense is still one of the best in the league. There's really no debating that, in my opinion.
No.
So, in my opinion, the Jaguars are in a fine spot. I think the Jets are in a in a better spot with Le'Veon than the Jaguars are with Nick Foles. I think Le'Veon Bell puts the Jets into an echelon that is matched by very few. I think they're in a very Browns-esque tier. I believe they have a running back for the future in Le'Veon, like the Browns have Chubb and Hunt. I believe they have a quarterback of the future. Not a fan of him still, but Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. I know Baker's 10 times better than Darnold. I'm not a fan of Darnold. I gotta be honest, don't think Darnold's here for the long run. I think he's more of a, not an Alex Smith kind of guy, but that kind of mediocre.
Dalton.
Nah, he's better than Dalton.
Yeah.
I'll say Alex Smith, just that kind of mediocrity, but still can get you to a playoff series and possibly to a Super Bowl as well. Le'Veon, receivers, they paid Jamison Crowder some money. They have Robbie Anderson already. They got some tight ends in the building. They got an offensive lineman. They have a defense that's growing a little bit here and there. I think the Jets are in a fine spot. 3rd overall pick. If the Arizona Cardinals draft Kyler Murray, they're lining up for either Bosa or Williams, which is beautiful for them. I love the signing of Le'Veon for the Jets. Let's talk about the Steelers, though. The Steelers lose Le'Veon Bell. They lose Antonio Brown. They're falling downhill a little bit here, you know. So what do you feel? Do you feel that the subtractions of Le'Veon and Antonio Brown and everyone else they've lost are pluses, or are they big, huge minuses?
Are we just going to talk about like the trade in general of those two? Well, not like the trade of Antonio.
Just the loss of those guys. How do you think it's going to impact the team? They're definitely not going to be as good as they were last year.
Oh, they're going to be terrible. Like, I don't want to say if there's a team in the league that's going to be underrated tanking, it's going to be the Steelers.
UC Irvine took down Kansas State. Boom. Sorry, bracket's going on right now, and I didn't cut you off. I'm sorry. I had UC Irvine winning. I just want to pat myself on the back for that.
Like they are going to be underrated tanking because.
Is that a phrase?
It's an underrated tank, sort of like. Who this year kind of did that? I don't even know.
Underrated tank. Let's see. Let's look at some NFL standings here. You know what?
Anyways, while you look that up, I'm just gonna say, you have Big Ben, who is going to retire at the end of this year because, frankly, he's too beat up. Who else do you have? Ryan Shazier. Like what happened to him is terrible. And frankly, Terrell Edmonds at safety.
Oh.
Don't know what you guys were thinking.
Oh my God.
What else? Offensive line is not getting any younger. In fact,
they traded away Marcus Gilbert too to the Cardinals.
Yeah, I know, and I'm just like, why? There's going to be so many open holes on this roster in the next couple of years that I would say it's probably good that they got rid of them. Now you just got to get rid of Big Ben and just start over.
Okay, so the way I see it, I see them as very Packers-like. I see them as a team that's really needing secondary, who has a decent. I know Aaron Rodgers is not comparable to Big Ben, honestly. They have a very lackluster running game. Even with James Conner, I don't think James Conner is that good. I think that he, like Le'Veon, was a product of their offensive line at many points. They have one receiver, and that's basically it now. They have no tight ends now. They lost Jesse James to the Lions, I believe it was. So I see them as a very Packers situation. They went 6-9 last year. I can see the Steelers sitting around that 6-10, 5-11 kind of record this year. I don't think.
Actually, I just thought, like, literally how you said, like, it's literally going to be exactly like the Packers.
Yeah.
They're just going to try to have Big Ben win it all. No.
It is Big Ben the guy who.
Oh, I know exactly what games I'm not going to be watching unless they're playing the Browns.
There you go. Okay, so think about. I want to ask you, best team in the AFC North is.
Oh gosh, the Browns.
Browns. Second best team is the
Ravens.
Third best team. Do you pick the Bungles over the Steelers? Or the Steelers over the
Both
Bungles?
are bad. I can't pick. They both are terrible. I pick them both to go. I pick them both to finish. No. They aren't good enough to. They're gonna bungle it. So we're gonna go like 5-11.
5-11. They're both gonna go 5-11. Okay.
And the Browns are the Bengals are gonna win their first 5 and win 11 straight.
Of course.
In Bengal fashion.
Yeah, of course. That's how the Bengals work. One trade I want to bring up, relating to the draft a little bit here, in my opinion, the Dee Ford trade to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs are also a team that's kind of destructing a little bit here. They lose Eric Berry.
Defensively,
Defensively. They lose Justin Houston. They lost Kareem Hunt. They lose Dee Ford. Do you think that the additions of Tyrann Mathieu and the 28th, 29th overall pick is going to be enough to save this Chiefs defense from going into complete oblivion? Rashad Breeland's another addition, but that's...
Well, I'm pretty sure they had a top 10 worst statistical defense of all time last year.
With those guys.
And frankly, the guys that they brought in aren't going to make that much of a difference. And frankly, I just said that 3 times in a row.
We're very frank today.
You cut Justin Houston, okay, that's for money reasons.
Yeah.
You trade Dee Ford, which I really don't understand, because the main reason that he hasn't been too great is because he was still recovering from consecutive ACL tears. So Pat Mahomes. Okay, let's be honest. Andy Reid and the offense and Pat Mahomes are going to be carrying this team again, if not more so than last year.
The way I see the Chiefs right now, they're in a tough situation because they no longer have that Kareem Hunt running back who can do everything. They have Pat Mahomes. They have some decent receivers, but there's Tyreek Hill news that's coming out that he did some not so nice things off the field. Their offensive line is still there, but they lost Mitch Morse to the Bills, I believe, who got paid the highest center money in the league. They lost a lot of players without adding too much more, in my opinion. The way I see this deal, I think the Chiefs are spending too much time focused on the money that's going out the door than what they need to bring back into the door. Yes, and when Dee Ford leaves the building, I think that this is almost an impulse kind of move because he was the guy who was offsides for like 50 plays during the AFC Championship game. But you know what? If I'm the San Francisco 49ers, I'm ecstatic with receiving Dee Ford in this kind of deal because I think that he's a decent player. He's a good player. He's going to come off the edge for them. They can use some edge help. They have the interior guys already. They need that edge help. Now, the angle I want to take with this is, does this mean that Nick Bosa is not going to be a 49er?
No, Nick Bosa or Josh Allen will still be a 49er for the very simple reason is quarterback is the most important offensive position. The guys that get the quarterback are the most important defensive position. And if the Broncos showed you anything over these past years, is the more guys that can sack the quarterback, the merrier. So frankly, they drafted like 3 straight defensive linemen in the first round, and all of them are interior players. Like they were edge players, and now they're interior players. They just need anything.
Solomon Thomas, Eric Armstead,
and
some guy from Oregon.
DeForest Buckner.
DeForest Buckner, yep.
And he's the only one that can kind of play on the edge.
Now they have Dee Ford, and they might add Nick Bosa or Josh Allen. That's a scary defensive line.
That's a good defensive line. Linebackers questionable, especially with Quan Alexander coming back from an ACL tear. But to be honest, when it comes to the 49ers, is Jimmy Garoppolo going to play up to his contract?
And with the 49ers, Tevin Coleman's another guy who I don't know how I feel about that signing.
He's the most. I know how I feel that if there's anyone that deserved a higher contract for a running back to be a starter, it'd be Tevin Coleman. Because frankly, honestly, in my honest opinion, he is one of the best running backs in this league because he can run, he can catch, he can juke people, he can run you over, and he would be a starter on basically every team, except he was drafted to Atlanta, who had already given big-time money to Devontae Freeman and who might be a little better.
Or he's a guy who's flourished in a backup role, and when you're going to be put in the spotlight, is not going to perform to the same standard. I like Jerick McKinnon. Maybe this is my Vikings fan bias coming out.
It is.
Okay, thank you. Jerick McKinnon is a guy who was underused in the Vikings offense. They had guys in front of him. They had AP, and then they had Dalvin Cook, and they was just never used in the right way. He's a guy who can run people over, who can pass catch, and who can run up the middle, can make a couple jukes, make some guys miss. That's Jerick McKinnon. That's the same exact description you used for Tevin Coleman. They have 2 clones of each other in the running back position. Usually you have your Thunder and Lightning. You have Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. You have Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman. You do not have 2 Lightnings with Tevin Coleman and Jerick McKinnon. That's just going to clash, in my opinion. I think that you should stick with Jerick McKinnon. Yes, he got an ACL tear. Yes, that stinks for him. Yes, that stinks for the team. Yes, it's a terrible thing to happen. Stick with him. Don't just float him out to nowhere because he's the 4th highest paid running back in the league. You already bought him. Now you're buying another running back in Tevin Coleman. I don't think it's going to work out well for them.
I would also, I think it's going to be fine because in his entire time as offensive coordinator, especially with the Falcons for their Super Bowl run, Devontae Freeman had, I think, 80 or 90 catches. Okay. So when you have 2 guys that can do that, and one who probably is a better guy split out, like Tevin Coleman, and one who's great at coming out of the backfield, like McKinnon, okay, I feel like they're going to be fine. It's just you got to know how to utilize them the best, which is not my job. That's Kyle Shanahan's job.
Okay. I was seeing some things that the 49ers, if they don't go 8-8 this season, they're going to fire Kyle Shanahan.
You don't fire Kyle Shanahan.
As a Vikings fan, I would love them to do that. As a 49ers fans, I would protest in the street if they did that. Because Kyle Shanahan is the 2nd best game player in the NFL, in my opinion.
I'd say he is probably better than Sean McVay. Mainly because the main advantage Sean McVay has is that his whole entire offense can basically work for anything because it's so tied to the play action.
Yeah.
And I know this is not an unpopular opinion. This is kind of facts. It doesn't matter if you establish the run game. You can still show a play action fake and still have a guy streaking wide open for 30 yards because the linebackers are too busy looking at the fake and then all of a sudden they have to book back 14 yards running. But what Kyle Shanahan does is a lot of week-to-week stuff, which I think is impressive. Same thing with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. Okay. And that's why
Should he have got an NFL job?
Lincoln Riley?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Before we head on to back to the other teams in the NFL, the Chicago Bears. They lose Adrian Amos. They lose Bryce Callahan. But they add Clinton Dix. I'm going to stay off this conversation because...
You're just going to let me talk?
I'm going to let you talk.
I think it's interesting because I was kind of puzzled because I'd say Clinton Dix in exchange for Adrian Amos is pretty fair, especially since I think we paid Clinton Dix maybe a little bit less than the Packers paid for Amos. I think Amos is all right, but I also think he took advantage of the fact that he had probably the best safety in the league as his partner and the pass rush, which he will not have in Green Bay, that's for sure. But I also find it questionable how they negotiate Mac's contract to where I'm pretty sure it's just a straight cash dump, so they clear off 11 to 12 million.
Yeah.
And they don't go after Bryce Callahan to re-sign him. Rather, they go for Buster Skrine, who I think he's better now that the league has moved to a slot role, where teams aren't in like their 3-4-4-3 anymore, mainly because of how the offense is involved.
Yeah.
But I also would say Buster Skrine isn't that good.
It's really not.
So, I mean, I'm not worried because hopefully Trubisky will play a full season this year.
Time.
And, I got to talk about running backs. Like, what are you doing? You signed Mike Davis, who is a worse Jordan Howard. And as of right now, you're not going to sign Jordan. You're not going to trade Jordan Howard.
But they could. They might.
They could.
Okay.
But
so coming into the offseason, I see the Bears running backs as Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen. Cool. I see all these people saying the Bears got to draft a running back in the 3rd round with their third. I was like, what are you doing? You have a running back. It's called Jordan Howard. You have a running back. It's called Tariq Cohen. You used him last year just fine. Using this year just fine.
Yeah. I would say the main problem with Jordan Howard is the system rather than the player, because it doesn't fit as well as it did with John Fox's anemic off.
Good players can play anywhere. I think Jordan Howard's a fine player. He can play anywhere, anyhow.
Well, I also wouldn't say that he's a cookie, like he's the one-size-fits-all guy. So I'd say I would much rather have
Mike Davis than Jordan Howard?
No. Don't sign Mike Davis. Just keep Jordan Howard for the last year and actually make a Super Bowl run and hopefully not choke, and just let him leave and get overpaid someplace.
Cody Parkey.
Yeah, shut up. Anyways, so now that I'm done with that, obviously not bias.
Of course, definitely not. We're unbiased here.
It's time we talk about. It's time we talk about Chucky.
Chucky.
In Oakland.
You know what? That was a decent movie, honestly. Chucky. I was scared at first because I'm not a fan of scary movies, but you know what? I'm starting to grow on Chucky. You know what? That doll he's pretty. Oh, sorry, wrong Chucky. Yeah. So the Oakland Raiders. What?
Let's go.
Steven's not a fan of that joke I made.
It's okay. Anyways, you want to lead off on this or should I?
You know what? I'll lead off. I'm batting lead off. Okay, so the Raiders, they're making some moves. They signed LaMarcus Joyner. They signed Trent Brown. They signed Tyrell Williams, and that's all I did. They only signed those 3 guys, and they're pretty much done. Yeah, no trades made, nothing big there. You know what? They did a decent job.
Yeah, there's Antonio Brown.
Who?
Antonio Brown.
Who's he?
The guy that they fleeced.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Mr. Big Chest. That's how I know him as. So,
anyway, I'm going to continue. So, Antonio Brown is the epitome of getting yourself guaranteed money. It's a very simple step process. 1, act like you don't care. He did that pretty great during the season because I'm pretty sure he actually didn't care. Step 2, dye your mustache blonde and make yourself look crazy. As an example, Mr. Big Chest. 3, meet with the team owner and be like, hey, it's time to move on, and act enough of a cancer to where they want to trade you and completely plummet your owner's trade leverage because other teams think that you're a cancer.
Okay, so other than the mustache part, isn't that exactly what Le'Veon Bell did?
No, what Le'Veon Bell did is he lost $20 million. Here, Antonio Brown went from 0 guaranteed money to $30 million guaranteed money. Like, he played it perfectly, and frankly, he's going to be so great in the John Gruden offense, being the Z receiver. So you might have heard the most famous, like, the Z receiver is the guy that's off the ball and they like to move around. Think Tyreek Hill. Jerry Rice was the Z receiver. He's basically the guy that they're just like, hey, we're going to move my guy around so he's facing a guy who's worse than him, and then we're just going to make him look stupid.
There you go.
So I think that's going to be great. As for the signings, Trent Brown, I'm not trying to say he's bad. I'm just trying to say when you have the GOAT at quarterback who frankly just gets the ball off so fast and is like a surgeon, you look better than you actually are. And making him the highest paid tackle in the league when his name is not Zach Martin.
He's a guard.
Who is the tackle that they have then?
The Cowboys?
Cowboys.
What's his name? Oh my.
Who cares? He probably went to Wisconsin. Anyways.
No, he didn't. I know who you're talking about. Tyron Smith.
Tyron Smith. When his name is not Tyron Smith, you don't pay him the most highest paid money for a tackle. So I think that was a reach, a big reach. LaMarcus Joyner, he was okay. Honestly, they need anyone in that secondary because Gary and Conley can't do it all himself. Who else?
They signed Tyrell Williams, the receiver from the Chargers.
Tyrell Williams, yeah, that could be okay. I don't like how they cut Jordy because I think Jordy's better than people give him credit for. I think I'm just
with you,
not trying to fulfill stereotypes. I feel like he's gonna be in New England in a couple weeks. He's the epitome of the cheap, I want to prove myself old wide receiver.
Did he ever work in Walmart, though? That's the big question.
That's a good question.
That's the big question.
He worked in Green Bay, and since Green Bay probably only has one Walmart, and that's their main store, he probably worked in Walmart.
That's true. Okay, going back to the Antonio Brown trade, you know what? He got paid. He's going to do well in Oakland. Oh, my God, the Steelers. I know we already talked about how bad they are. How do you not get more than a third and a fifth from Antonio Brown? Yes, he's not doing so well in the locker room. Yes, he's kind of a bit of a hassle to work with. But, oh my God, you have not sold him correctly if you're only getting a third and fifth round pick.
Antonio Brown is worth a first round pick, maybe 2.
Yeah, he's worth at least Antonio Brown.
The only thing working against him right now is his antics and the fact that he's 30.
Yeah, why does he not get, so I realize that, so Odell will be simplified to 2 firsts and a third. How do you not get at least 1 first for Antonio Brown, who may be, yes, he's like 5 years older than Odell, but he has very similar antics off the field. They have very similar play on the field.
Yeah, it's because of my 5-step process I went over.
Okay.
And he got himself money. Good for him. Steelers, I don't feel sorry for you at all. You had so long to win a Super Bowl with this core, and now that it's blowing up, I'm not sorry for you at all.
Okay, before we head to the Combine and finish up with some draft talk, the Ravens, what?
It's questionable. Well, see, Ravens didn't have a whole lot of caps, but they were kind of in the Browns where they had maybe like 20, 25 million to work with. But I would say the Ravens as a unit are more important than paying star players. Because when you look at the Ravens, they're always like the best defense in the league. But when you look for a star, you can think of Terrell Suggs, and then
he's gone.
He's gone, but he's been there since forever. And like maybe Eric Weddle. I honestly can't name any other starter.
I thought C.J. Mosley. C.J. Mosley was that guy who took over Ray Lewis's job and was Ray Lewis for that defense, an underrated player. I think C.J. Mosley's a great middle linebacker, and he just flees off to the Jets and gets paid.
I don't think the Ravens would ever be able to pay him. So I think they're gonna. The Ravens' defense has always been scheme over players, so I feel like they're gonna be great. Earl Thomas, if he didn't have a broken leg, he'd still be the best free safety in the entire league. And we'll see how he comes back from that. But other than that, I feel like they're going to be fine. They're probably not going to be top 5. I'd still expect them to be in the top half of the league, though, defensively. Offensively, you probably need to get a receiver in this draft.
Yes.
Because right now they got 3 tight ends in Willie Snead. Gus Edwards is an underrated guy.
Plus Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram's back. They're really going for what Colin Kaepernick had with the 49ers, where they had Frank Gore as just that guy that's just going to run downhill. And then eventually when you start biting on it, you have Lamar Jackson and is probably somewhere around 4.3, 40, just racing to the edge. So I think the Ravens will be fine. They're probably still going to only be in contention for a wild card, though.
Okay, so that's fair. You know what? Let's just finish up with some draft talk here. The combine happened since our last show. Let's talk about, I want to go position by position. Tell me your top 3 guys at each position. Just roughly, who you think is the best people at each of these spots. So let's start with quarterback. In my opinion, the quarterback position goes this. Kyler Murray's at the top. Then you have Dwayne Haskins, and then you have Daniel Jones. Those are my top 3 guys.
I would say it'd go.
Oh wait, no, sorry, not Daniel Jones. Drew Lock. Drew Lock number 3.
My number 3 will be underrated. I'd say it goes probably Kyler Murray still, because I haven't really watched that much tape on Dwayne Haskins. Then Dwayne Haskins, and then no one knows him, Brett Rippon out of Boise State.
Okay.
Which honestly, if he didn't have an Alex Smith type of arm, people would be talking about him more. And also, since he played in the Mountain West, I guess.
2 guys I want to mention as well as my honorable mentions. Ryan Finley from NC State. This is a guy who can definitely play some football.
I feel like Ryan.
He's a little older, isn't he? I believe he is.
He is the oldest. He is 24 right now. He's going to be 25 midway through the season.
Yeah.
He's going to be Nick Foles, where he's going to be a guy who you're going to be questionable, and it's going to be hot and cold. At least when it comes to supporting him, he's like, oh, he's going to be a starter. Oh, nope, he shouldn't be in the league. But he's always going to be in the league, in my opinion.
This is where I disagree. I think that Will Grier is Nick Foles. I think Will Grier is the guy who's going to end up being a backup most likely, but could show flashes of just absolute brilliance that would make him a starter on some teams. That's what I see Will Grier as. Any guys you want to really mention here when it comes to the quarterbacks?
Any guys I would like to mention?
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, he's going to get way overdrafted because of his connections to the Manning family. Yeah. So I'd say watch for that. Tyree Jackson, he's really questionable because his accuracy is not very good whatsoever, but he has a Josh Allen-esque arm. And we all saw what happens when you just look good in shorts and have a big arm. Like Josh Allen, you get picked 10th overall. So he's probably gonna get picked higher than most people think as well.
Okay, now moving on to the running backs. I really don't understand how Josh Jacobs is getting this much attention when it comes to this running back. Yes, I've seen some tape of him, but he's got such limited tape. He was only a starter in Alabama. Yes, I know Damian Harris is there. In my opinion, I like David Montgomery as my number 1 running back.
I agree.
And then Josh Jacobs, and then possibly going down to even Memphis's Darrell Henderson as my 3rd.
David Montgomery is probably number 1. I actually watched all the film I've watched on him was for me watching a wide receiver, Hakeem Butler.
Okay.
We're going to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Next to that, honestly, this running back class, 2 Washington players, Washington State, and then Myles Gaskin out of Washington. Myles Gaskin is really underrated in my opinion. He's a 4-year starter. He's rushed for over 2,200 yards every single year. And frankly, has been kind of carrying that team the entire time, except for when Jake Fromm decided to be good his sophomore year when he had John Ross. And then it goes to James Williams out of Washington State. He is exactly what you want when it comes to the modern NFL. Versatile threat because he can run in between the tackles with power where you might not expect that from a guy who's 5'9", maybe pushing it like about 170, 180, but he can do it, and he has the best hands in the class.
Okay. My honorable mention, Justice Hill out of Oklahoma State. He's been compared to Tevin Coleman, so I
I'd agree. I also say Mike Weber and Bryce Love, both guys that took a dip this year in production, as well as Rodney Anderson, especially with his ACL tear when playing UCLA. Yeah. So for wide receivers now, you disagree with me about the top, but
I believe the number one receiver in this draft class is DK Metcalf. 100%. This is a guy who's going to play in the NFL, and if used correctly and do the best of his abilities, he'll be a number one receiver for a long time on a team. My number 2 receiver, may surprise some kids, Paris Campbell at Ohio State. I'm a fan of Paris Campbell. I think he's got a breakaway speed, and he can definitely match up well as a slot receiver. And I'll give Hakeem Butler out of Iowa State the 3rd spot.
I would give Hakeem Butler out of Iowa State the number 1 spot. Okay. And I'll mention this when I go over DK Metcalf, who is my number 2. But Hakeem Butler, I feel like he has probably the best hands of all big guys in this draft. Not like spectacular catches, but like just surefire, always catching with his hands, because I feel like DK caught with his body a little too much. We'll go over that in a second. And also, he's consistently been productive, and I just like he's a pretty good route runner for a guy of his size. And continue on, number 2, DK Metcalf. He looks so good, but if you don't... I have Kevin White syndrome, where I just see a big guy and I'm like, you have all the potential to be the next Calvin Johnson, but he has such a bad injury history that I am scared to pick him. Also, I feel like he catches, like he is so pretty inconsistent with his catching. Like he'll make an amazing catch and then all of a sudden he'll drop a wide open hitch. So I feel like that's my main problem with him. And then outside of that, I don't know. Maybe Marquise Brown? I'd say Marquise Brown is pretty good.
I like that pick. I was going to mention him as a possible sleeper pick, the Hollywood Brown from Oklahoma. I'm a big fan of, when it comes to late round steals, a possibility. You know, David Sills, the converted quarterback in West Virginia, he's decent. Will Jordan Humphrey's got some size on him. He could be good. Hunter Renfrow, he just knows how to play in big games. He screams 3rd round wide receiver pick to the Patriots, in my opinion.
Yes.
I mean, he fits the bill as a really good Patriots receiver.
And me, I'd say Riley Ridley, too. Main problem with him is that he's one of the older guys in the class, similar to how his brother was one of the older ones. David Stills, I feel like, is a guy who's going to impress in camp. Dylan Mitchell out of Oregon is going to be, I feel like, is going to be pretty good. And then similarly, Hunter Renfrow. Like, if you don't pick that guy in day 2, you're wasting your time.
Now, tight ends, do you have, in no matter any order, Fant, Hockenson, Smith?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So my tight end rankings go Noah Fant, T.J. Hockenson, Irv Smith. I'm a fan of Noah Fant. I think he's got all the intangibles out there. I know Hockenson's a better overall guy. When I look at Noah Fant, I see basically a wide receiver as a tight end. I see him as a guy who's just going to go up, catch passes, could catch 10, can make 10 receptions a game consistently in the NFL. In my opinion, I think Noah Fant's the top one.
I would say, first off, Iowa, how do you get such good tight ends
and still be bad?
And still be only average. I don't really rank these tight ends because they're all good at different things, in my opinion. Like, Noah Fant is basically Evan Ingram, where he's a wide receiver who just gets labeled a tight end because maybe he's like not like agile enough or anything. Hockenson is more balanced. Same with Irv Smith. So I really don't rank these guys. It's more so what works best for your team.
Okay. Any honorable mentions right there?
Caleb Wilson, UCLA, always pretty good.
I saw Matt Miller tweeted out that some teams have Caleb Smith as the 3rd best tight end, and other teams do not have him on the board. I think that he's such a polarizing prospect.
Yeah, I'd say Caleb Wilson's pretty good.
When it comes to the offensive line, I'll name you 5 guys that I feel are first-round talents. I think Juwan Taylor's the best offensive lineman in the draft. I think Jonah Williams is next. I think the next best guy is Dalton Reisner out of Kansas State. I think Andre Dillard is going to be a fine left tackle in this league, and I think he's number 4. The next best one, I think, is Garrett Bradbury out of NC State. Those are my top 5 offensive linemen.
Yeah, Jawan Taylor. Jonah Williams will probably go down for the very simple fact is versus really good competition, he looked like the worst offensive lineman on Alabama's team, which is a problem, especially if you're going to get drafted to, I don't know, like the Jets or the Raiders, where you're playing some pretty good defenses every week, and the Chargers, the Bills, surprisingly somehow still have a good defense, and the Patriots, who will just find some old guy and all of a sudden he'll have a career year. Michael Bennett, yeah. Andre Dillard, just because I watched a lot of Washington State this year. He's going to get picked up because he's probably the best pass protector in the league because he played for the best passing offense. So he's got the most experience there. Cody Ford is really good, although he's probably more of an interior guy, which is not a problem whatsoever. The more pass protection you can get, the merrier. Dalton Reisner, he'll be good, but I'd say this is the best one in the wild. Still not blow out of the water amazing. There's just a lot of solid Bs rather than maybe B pluses, A minuses rather than that A plus.
The way I see it, I see Jawan Taylor as an A minus. I see Joel Williams as a B plus, Dillard B plus, Ford and Reisner as B pluses. Everyone else from like 24 on the CBS rankings, 24 through like 77 as Bs. Like these are all good players. I think the bigger problem is that there's no offensive tackles. They're all most of these guys, Jawan Taylor, Andre Dillard, and Greg Little are really the only guys I think are bona fide. These guys are tackles, especially when it comes to that left side tackle, which for some reason is always still important. Edge guys, I'll give you 3: Bosa, Allen, Sweat. It's pretty easy.
I'd throw in Farrell in there.
Okay.
Burns, he's the most. I'd say he's probably the most athletic out of all of these 3. All of those that you mentioned. Underrated Chase Winovich out of Michigan.
Okay.
I watched a lot of him. He was great. And I don't know if he's qualified as edge. I think he's interior.
Who?
Rashawn Gary. I'm pretty sure he's interior.
I think he's interior, yeah.
But he's, for the weight he plays at, which is below average for defensive linemen, but for how explosive he is amazing. So I'd say edge rusher, this class is pretty good. Interior lineman, Quinn Williams best, no question. I mean, do you question that?
I think he's the best prospect in total, overall. I think he's the best prospect you could draft in 2019.
And then afterwards, I'd put probably Rashawn Gary tied with Ed Oliver for second, because both of their problems really have to do with when you get beat, do you have a counterattack? I mean, not really for Ed Oliver. His problem is really just his stance, because it's terrible. He lines up with his knees on the ground.
I think so Quinn Williams, I have far and away the best prospect in the draft. I think Ed Oliver is going to be underrated by teams just because where do you play him? In my opinion, you're drafting Ed Oliver as an athlete. He could play linebacker. He doesn't have the height to be a defensive lineman, but maybe he could be defensive lineman.
I'd say it'd probably be
for defense.
I'd say it'd be a mistake to make him a full-time middle linebacker.
Yes.
I mean, you can, if you want to, you can drop him back.
At
that's
287,
fine.
That's a pretty heavy linebacker.
He's athletic enough, but I think he's a better pass rusher than people give him credit for. And
I think Rashawn Gary is going to slip some boards, which really stinks, because I think he's possibly the second best edge talent in the draft. Third best behind Josh Allen. If playing to his full potential and playing on the edge, I think he could be the third best. I think a guy that people aren't talking about enough is Christian Wilkins. I think this guy's a great player on and off the field. This guy's a complete character and a great football player too. If he had came out of the draft last year, probably being top 10 pick. In my opinion, I think he still deserved that top 10 talent. He didn't really show anything this year that made me think maybe he's not that good.
I'm gonna go with his teammate Dexter Lawrence. People are going to get him for a steal simply because he tested positive for some substance before the national championship game. So some people are going to get him for a steal. And that's really all I have because I haven't looked at defensive linemen yet.
I think Dexter Lawrence is the best run stopper in the draft, no question.
Probably.
Two guys I want to mention: Sutton Smith, an edge guy from Northern Illinois. I think he's going to be an underrated guy late in the draft. And Kaylor Saunders out of Western Illinois, another guy I think are going to be two sleeper picks when it comes to the defense. Linebackers, I think that this is a bad linebacker class.
No, there's two
the Devons.
good ones.
The Devons, and then I don't care. Honestly.
Basically.
I don't care. We have Devin White, Devin Bush. Devin White's athletic freak, needs to be put in the right situation. I see him as a Roquan Smith-esque kind of guy. Put him in the right position. He could be the best linebacker, racking up sacks all the time. Make him do the things does not feel comfortable or excel in doing. He's not going to be worth a top 5 pick.
I'd say Devin Bush is better than Devin White.
Devin Bush is better than Devin White.
I'd say so.
Okay.
Because they're both athletic freaks.
Yes. Except
I'd say Devin Bush is a little more of an athletic freak and better when it comes to using his hands and run stopping. Also, dude, I'm pretty sure Devin Bush ran like a 4.40.
Okay.
So.
Finishing up here with the cornerbacks before we just head on to safeties. Greedy Williams, number 1 on my board. I think Greedy Williams is going to get underdrafted just because he's just dropping down some boards. I like Rock Ya-Sin from Temple a lot, and I think Byron Murphy and DeAndre Baker. Found with cornerbacks, it's what you're looking for. If you're looking for a press guy, if you're looking for a zone guy, it really just depends.
It really depends on what your team wants and what fits for your team. So a lot of these guys are just going to be up and down different boards.
Before we head into kickers and punters, because I know you're very excited about those
No, we're
guys.
not doing those.
Safeties, I'll give Chauncey Gardner-Johnson number 1 spot out of Florida, then Nasir Adderley, and then, you know what, give it to DeAndre Thompson out of Alabama.
I'd say first up, I'd put Nasir Adderley simply because he's more of can do everything. He's sort of like Harrison Smith.
Okay.
But he's faster.
Ooh, that's dangerous. Harrison Smith.
And then I'd tied for a second. I'd put Taylor Rapp and Deontay Thompson, mainly because Deontay Thompson got really exposed versus good teams, especially Clemson. He got completely exposed. And then Taylor Rapp, he just does a lot. In fact, I'd say he fits the Harrison Smith mold perfectly because he did so much for that Washington defense.
Okay, so those are our draft rankings. Stay tuned because at least sometime next month we're heading on spring break for the next week, so we won't have a show up then. But make sure you guys stay tuned because we're going to be having our big mock drafts. Each of us has our teams.
Oh, yeah.
We're each making sure we got our guys, got our boards going. You'll see our picks on what we would do if we were the GMs of each NFL team. Steven, any final words you want to say?
Nah.
I do have some final words. Trubisky's not elite. Thank you, guys. I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that to you. Go Dons.